This afternoon on the marketplace, MTN Ghana withdraws case from Supreme Court seeking the court to review the High Court decision's declaration as its significant market operator. Also, the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC justifies the proposed increase in the minimum capital requirement for market operators, insisting current developments warrant margin of review. Plus, the World Bank projects much lower fiscal deficit of gross domestic product for Ghana this year compared with government revised forecast of 12.2%. We have details. Hello once again, I'm Charles Ayete. Details coming up after this break. Now, MTN Ghana has withdrawn its case from the Supreme Court seeking the court to review the High Court decision regarding the declaration of the telecom firm as a significant market operator. Joy Business understands that the lawyers of the telecom market leader informed the court that they have already been advised to withdraw the case. Now, this will then pave way for stakeholder consultations, and of course, the Supreme Court subsequently struck the case as withdrawn. The lawyer for the National Communications Authority, Gary Nimako-Mafo, who was at the court, said that he's been speaking to Joy Business on this particular development.
Well, I think that basically what MTN has done appears to me a very good step. I have maintained from day one that the right procedure is to engage the regulator because we look at the documents so far available. The issue about not being here, to me, in my opinion, was not the best approach. You should engage the regulator, talk to the regulator. Best investigation practice requires that they must all sit down, they must all talk, find an amicable way of resolving the problem. So I think what they've done, to me, is the best approach that they have, resolved the problem.
Away from that, the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC has announced an increase in the minimum capital requirement to operate all capital market players within the space. Now, there is more in this particular news desk report on SEC's decision. Based on the proposed review, fund management firms are required to have a minimum capital of 2 million cedis by December 2021. Brokerage dealers are also required to have a minimum capital of 1.5 million cedis. A trustee should also have at least 50 million cedis. Primary dealers should also by December 2021 have a minimum capital of 400 million cedis. According to the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC, exiting market players are expected to meet the new capital requirement by the end of next year, that is December 2021, while new entrants should meet it immediately. In addition to the new licensing guidelines, the Securities and Exchange Commission has also issued other guidelines to steer the operations and activities of market operators. These include conduct of business guidelines, regulatory sandbox licensing guidelines, and corporate governance code for listed companies. The exchange had argued that these are part of a broader measure to bring some sanity into the industry after the recent cleanup that resulted in some firms being liquidated. Meanwhile, the Securities and Exchange Commission has justified the proposed increase in the capital requirement, insisting that current development will warrant the margin of review. Let's now take a closer look at the figures we're talking about. Over 1,000% increase. We're looking at brokerage dealerships having to pay 1,000, that's 1.5 million Ghana cedis minimum capital. That's a significant jump from 100,000 cedis way back in 2003. Clearing houses, the same amount, from 100,000 to 50 million Ghana cedis in the minimum capital requirement. That's next year, 2021. The list goes down to issuing houses from 100,000 cedis to 1 million Ghana cedis. These are significant increments from SEC there. On the other side, we could see the margin traders having to pay 2 million Ghana cedis in minimum capital. And also the registrars also having to pay from 100,000 in 2003 to 1 million Ghana cedis by the end of next year. It comes down to the securities depository from 100,000 cedis to 50,000, that's 50 million Ghana cedis, I should rather say, coming up next year in their minimum capital requirement. this is big. If any of these firms fail to meet the minimum capital requirement, as you can see on the screens, what this means is that there could either be a merger, an acquisition, or a complete withdrawal of their license. We shall be following closer to give you updates as and when we do have them. Well, away from that, the World Bank is projecting a much lower fiscal deficit of 7.2% of gross domestic product for Ghana this year. That's lesser than government revised forecast of 12.2% that is contained in its Africa Pulse report. Charles Nexin-Yeboah has more in this report.
The fiscal deficit of GDP will be about 5% lower than government's revised forecast. Government had earlier projected a fiscal balance of negative 4.4% of GDP, but COVID-19 compelled it to revise the target by a wider margin. However, recent pickup in economic activities, which is expected to bring in some needed revenue, may have led to this adjustment. Nevertheless, the country's fiscal deficit, that is the shortfall in revenue compared with spending, is expected to be second to South Africa in sub-Saharan Africa. Revised total revenue and grants for this year are estimated at 51 billion cedis, while total expenditure, including arrears, is projected at 99 billion cedis. The estimated total revenue is about 1.6 billion cedis lower than last year's figure. The World Bank said the average increase in the fiscal deficit in sub-Saharan Africa this year is considerably smaller relative to that of advanced economies. Globally, the nation's budget deficit for this year will be lower than the United States of America, but higher than Germany and the United Kingdom. But neighboring Nigeria, with over 200 million population, will register a budget deficit of 1.3% of GDP. The sub-Saharan Africa average is forecast at 3.5 percentage points of GDP. The World Bank, however, expressed concerns about the fiscal support deployed by governments in the region.
Government through the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation has revealed plans to build a bauxite refinery plant in the western region. Now, the region has the largest bauxite deposits, and to that, the CEO of the corporation, Michael Ansah, says this will enhance the local economy and create jobs in these communities. He was speaking at the inauguration of the committees in bauxite mining communities across the country. Prince Apia was there and has filed this report.
Mining communities in the country have for many years struggled with infrastructure development regardless of its contribution to the GDP. Leadership of these communities have bemoaned the exodus of the youth for greener pastures as a result. One of such is Chief of Awaso in the Bibiani Amyaso Bekwai municipality of the Western North region, Nana Kwame Amponsadebra III.
The youth in this community, they end up traveling from here to other community in search of greener pasture. So it's my hope now that Nana Akufo-Addo and his government has come in, the company or employer or see to the youth the skills that they are looking for, the community don't have, they can pick them, send them, train them and employ them.
The government, through the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, has therefore inaugurated 19-member committees in the various bauxite mining communities to address this trend. Michael Ansah is the CEO.
We're very keen to make sure that first we engage with the community, that the community are part of what we're doing, that they understand the work that we want to carry out, and more importantly, we also understand what their expectations and aspirations are, to make sure that we'll be doing mining in a very responsible way. So we're carrying out baseline studies that will show us how we go about mining here. So the work that we're going to do here is really to not just continue what has happened, but to bring a new direction, a new imperative, a new strategy to how we accomplish bauxite mining, but in an integrated way.
The committee will ensure that people are properly engaged and involved in the economic and infrastructure development in these areas. CEO Michael Ansah says locals who qualify for any jobs within the value chain will be given the utmost priority in adherence to the local content law.
So the work of GIADEC is around not just mining bauxite, but refining bauxite and then smelting Ghana's alumina in our smelters here. We have a smelter in Tema, but today we have only bauxite mining here, and we're looking to build a refinery as well. Okay, and part of what we'll do differently is the way we'll engage the local community, the way we'll ensure that the jobs that come here, whether skilled labor or unskilled labor, we'll make sure that the local content aspect, as in the Ghanaian content, is also enshrined in law. So all of these things we're doing to make sure that Ghanaians have a real positive participation in what we're doing.
Meanwhile, there are calls for a policy to ensure subsequent government will continue the implementation of GIADEC plans. Nana Opondenche is the chairman of the Ananano Mining Advocacy Group and secretary to the Nyinehini Town Elders Society.
I hope Ghana has some policies in place. For instance, if really Nanado has started this thing with the GIADEC, with the committee, the community coming together with a committee to move all this, if it can go on, so that even if another government comes in, we follow it up. This is what we, the community, want to know.
Prince Apia reporting.
Now, over 2,000 complaints on faulty billing electricity meters flood the Public Utilities and Regulations Commission, PURC, each and every year. The Executive Secretary of the PURC, Mami Dufio, tells Joy Business a lasting solution has been established to deal with these complaints through the commissioning of an energy test meter laboratory. Now, this will be a state-of-the-art station reference meter test bench for both single and three-phase meters. The estimated $100,000 laboratory, according to her, should win back the trust of customers. She spoke to Joy Business.
Are improving upon our operations and our service to the public. Day in, day out, it is our mandate as well as our aim to address their complaints as quickly as possible, as credible as possible, and as independent as we can. And that is the object of this laboratory. It's going to cut down the time for resolving their complaints. It's going to ensure that the accuracy, I wouldn't say minutes, I'm just saying that the resolution time, as we used to have, will be cut down by at least 50%. Yes, yes. Each meter has its different, components, and so investigating each meter has different time, and each problem has a different time to actually find out, so investigate. So you cannot say it can be by 5 or 10, no. It's on each case-by-case basis. But whatever case, whatever time we were spending, at least 50% of that time will be reduced. It will reduce about 50% of that time. And definitely with the credibility, with technology, you come out more, as well as the independence of it. Because if I know that with this system, it's not, the human factor is largely reduced, and obviously that will gain the confidence of people. So when we are taking decisions, as people, we want people to realize that the Commission, one of the values that we really live for is transparency and independence and impartiality. And that is what will be reinforced with this lab.
You're still watching The Marketplace. We'll take a short break. Be right back. Hi, you're welcome back. Now, the Deputy Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Amwa Ejibo-Esiako, is calling for a concerted budgetary allocation towards climate change mitigation. Ghana will need 22.4 billion cedis in its nationally determined contributions to tackle climate change. The government is also to mobilize 1.6 billion cedis, including existing public investments. Let's listen to Kwesi Deborah, who has more in this report.
Dr. Amwa, however, believes Ghana's reliance on donor funding is not ingenuous. He was speaking at the Climate Information Services in Ghana workshop in Kumasi.
We've already submitted quite a number of proposals to different funding sources. We are also encouraging, because we are developing investment plans on the NDC actions. Otherwise, it is very difficult for the sectors to be able to mobilize funding. but work on the investment plans is almost completed. It's yet to be published so that the sectors could be able to use those investment plans to mobilize funding. But even before that, quite a number of proposals have been submitted. I know energy has a number of proposals out there. Forestry has a number of them. Recently, they got one of them approved. Agriculture, together with the environment sector, also has some proposals. Water also has some proposals out there. So it is something that is challenging, but for personally, my take is you cannot highly depend on donor funding to drive home some of these very important issues, especially when, and I'm speaking as a technical person in this case, especially when you connect these actions with development. If truly we see these actions as development, then there should be a high national budgetary interest to be able to actually make sure that these issues, the money that is needed is mobilized.
The workshop was under the theme, Mainstreaming Climate Information for Resilient Agricultural Systems to Support Sustainable Development in Ghana. Provost of the College of Science, KNUST, Professor Leonard Kofiche Amekuji, believes the recent weather patterns have made the meeting crucial.
Affects issues regarding housing, affect the entire population in diverse ways. And it has become a very important thing because of the alarming nature and some of the things that has really increased this fear has been increasing precipitation. As we all saw, we had almost more than, if we measure the precipitation that has just poured, I think that Maureen is there. I believe we've gotten over 100 millimeters of rain just only in a day on campus. I'm not talking about elsewhere, but I'm referring to what happened just yesterday till this morning. If you measure, you will see that, and which is not normal. It means that we are having also more frequent intense rainfalls, and these are not normal, and this is not what we need for a rain-fed agriculture. Dry spells has become very prominent, and also very drought situations when we expect rain. And these and many other challenges present to us means that we have to take climate change issues very serious.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
The Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies has called on government to provide liquidity support to its members. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of a program organized by the Bank of Ghana, the specialized deposit-taking institutions to sensitize the media on the financial sector cleanup, Executive Secretary of GASALC, Chonibua Kodia, said that there is a need for savings and loans companies to be liquidated.
So far, we've not received any liquidity support, but the central bank has been magnanimous to support us with other policy decisions, and we are grateful for those policy decisions. We think that at this particular moment, and especially with coming in of COVID, we will need a serious government intervention, government policy support, i.e. a specific fund from governments to support these businesses, because it is our clients who are actually hard hit by COVID. And so if you look globally, all governments are doing is to support businesses. And of course, the government is supporting small business through NBFIC, NBSSI. And so we think that it is in the right position for governments to come up with a certain fund to support microfinance institutions, savings and loans, and also to help them to continue to deliver on their mandates of financial inclusion.
Well, meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana has also advised specialized deposit-taking institutions, including savings and loans firms, to prioritize strong internal control and risk management systems when making business decisions. Now, this comes in the wake of the collapse of several financial institutions purely due to bad decisions. According to the second Deputy Governor, Elsie Aduawaji, SDIs must strive to stay relevant in the financial sector.
We expect the SDI sector to be the key delivery channel for financial inclusion, which is a key requirement for Ghana's socioeconomic development. There are still many Ghanaians and businesses that do not have access to savings products and credit facilities, and this presents opportunities for the SDI sector to follow. Under the National Financial Sector Development and Inclusion Strategy, which started from 2018 and is supposed to be implemented through 2023, the government of Ghana expects an increase in access to finance from the current rate of 58% of the population to 85% of the population by 2023. This is an opportunity for the SDI sector to pursue. To stay true to their mandate and to stay relevant in our fast evolving, technology-driven financial industry, SDIs must prioritize good governance, including strong internal controls and risk management, customer care, and ensure that they keep their eye on the quantity and quality of capital they hold when they are making business decisions, because the capital can run out. We expect them to embrace electronic forms of delivery of financial services to provide more financial services on a cost-effective basis to the vulnerable groups in our society. SDIs can only do this when they have in place the right amount of capital to invest in cutting-edge technology, as well as strong and independent boards of directors, expect human capital, and effective internal control.
Now, government will add a new debt of 2.5 billion cedis to its existing loan when it comes to its borrowing 2.21 billion cedis in the last quarter of this year. That's according to the issuance calendar. There is more to this in this report. Well, that's how we end this edition of The Marketplace.